gathering has been called for the simple reason that yesterday I issued a proclamation under Article 31 of the Constitution, which might not go down very clearly to some people, and the media is there to explain and extrapolate what this involves. So I'm here to answer questions pertaining to yesterday's proclamation and what it entails. Firstly, that power is constitutional. It's given to me as president. And secondly, I exercise that power after consulting my cabinet, because I'm very consultative and inclusive. The power that I have invoked will be reviewed by Parliament within 7 days, and Parliament will determine to approve or not to approve that proclamation. And Parliament will determine whether it will last 3 months or 6 months or 1 week or 2 weeks. Parliament has power. So that is the lowdown on the legalistic aspects of this power. And we are going to make regulations following that power, which will regulate certain conduct of people's behavior. And that power is very extensive. But I want to assure the Republic that the invocation of that power was not meant to harass people or perceived opponents in the political arena, but is to curb the ever-growing lawlessness which we have seen in the recent past. With those very, very few remarks, I'll take questions pertaining to this subject.
Very quickly, your name and one question, please, so that we can move quickly. 3 questions at a time. Yes, yes, sir, in front.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. I'm Mike Sitora from 5FM. You've said that you're going to put in regulations. I wanted to find out, under the powers that you have exercised, where have you pressed the freedom of the media in terms of dissemination of information to the general public? Because I understand that maybe you may put some regulations in terms of how certain media houses are conducting themselves. Is that part of it? Thank you.
I must point out that I'm an advocate of media freedom, and I consider the media fraternity as a friendly force. Under the preservation of public security and laws relating thereto, there exists power in a state of emergency on the part of the President to regulate the media, publication, broadcasting, and all those things. But I've already underscored that one by saying I'm not going to disrupt ordinary life, normal life, in the manner that we are used to. I'll only go for those who are
Yes, the lady from the Times. Please, sir.
Good afternoon. This means that the police do have spatial powers, more powers now. But how are we going to ensure that they do not abuse their powers by maybe brutalizing the citizens?
I thought I made myself very clear yesterday that the regulations we will make will be intended to maintain law and order and protect the public. You see, there is also the judiciary at work in this whole process. If any powers are given to somebody, including the president, they can be subject to review by the courts of law. In the event that I go beyond the prescribed power, or I can reasonably in the exercise of those powers, aggrieved parties are free to go to the courts of law to determine whether I've acted excessively. I think this is what we stand for as PF. And I don't want to talk too much about the discussions which we had in Cabinet yesterday. I was, in fact, the custodian of reasonableness and the way of meaning intentions in the application of these powers. But there's a danger that this power can be abused. But you can trust me as Zambians that I'm here to ensure that I protect the Zambian people against any excesses on the part of those equipped with executive authority in the execution of protection of the public good. So if anyone will be injured in the process, the courts are there, and the very independent courts that we have seen, they will pronounce on those powers.
Yes, lady in front there.
Good morning, Your Excellency.
It's afternoon.
Afternoon, thank you. Basically, I would like to find out one of the biggest cries that we're seeing, especially on social media. We would like to find out whether this proclamation comes with any curfews, and then we would also like to find out the small planes that we have witnessed that land a lot in the evening. What is the position on this?
Well, I have no report on the planes landing, but I have reports on social media. All I can say is that we are going to follow case by case. We cannot clamp down on social media because of one foolish person. We will look for that foolish person and bring him to book. That will do. Similarly, we cannot make blanket regulations to cover movement of people. People are free to walk about, attend the question certain people. That comes with the proclamation. We may have power to detain people, but we ask ourselves, why are we detaining this person? Can't we keep him at home and talk to him tomorrow? So basically, we are human beings. I was in Addis Ababa just a few days ago. There's a state of emergency there. It was put in place some 6 months ago and was renewed during our visit there. But people are going about their business as usual. So one of the reasons why I tried with me is, please don't panic. Don't live under fear unduly. Just do what you normally do within the law. But if you do, certainly we will pick you up. And in picking you up, probably you may not enjoy the right to appear in court within 48 hours as the law currently stipulates. You know that the current procedure code for criminal activities, the criminal procedure code and the criminal practice, criminal law practice, is that if a person is held by the police, they should charge him and bring him to the court of law within 48 hours. But currently, under the arrangement we have invoked, you may be held slightly longer. That is exactly the only difference. But curfews can also be declared for specific areas and for specific reasons. And places can be gazetted as no-go areas for the ordinary person and so on. That we can do. But we will not unduly make it difficult for you. You may see the presence of more policemen than usual, more armed men around you than usual. But it's for a very, very short period, either 3 months or 6 months, depending on what Parliament will dictate, because this will stand in place for 7 days. And within 7 days, we have to go to Parliament. And Parliament will debate the reasons why the President did this or why the President should have not done this. We are in a very good democratic system, because this power invoked is only for 7 days, because Parliament is sitting. So we have to move a motion in Parliament by Honour the Vice President to explain the background, to justify this, whether it should go for 7 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, or 6 months. It is up to Parliament. But please take time to read the law, and you read it as a layman, and ask those who know to interpret it, because law is full of jargon, and I think that's where they make their money, by confusing us with words. But it means nothing. It's just telling us that the President has power to declare that the country is threatened. If the current situation is allowed to continue, there may be need for a state of emergency. That's the power I invoked yesterday. I said, if we let this thing continue, we may find ourselves in a state of emergency. But for now, I'm saying this is too much. It's telling me that things are not well. So can we up the powers of the police and the powers of inquiry and investigations and so on? So that's where we are.
Yes, sir. Please come, sir.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. I'm Wells Fonda from Prime TV. I just want to find out if at all it is declared a state of emergency. Are there any programs that will be put across to sensitize the general public about the do's and don'ts during the period, apart from using the media here? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that we can benefit from dissemination of information to the general public. But if we take it upon ourselves as the government to begin telling people things, it will be propaganda. They will not attach much value to it. So we would like the independent media, those stakeholders who are partners in maintaining law and order, to just tell the people, this is what it entails, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do, this is the genesis of this problem or position, we are going in this direction. Because if we begin saying, do this or don't do that, we'll go back to the days of one-party state where the voice which mattered was that of one person. But I don't think, if you were privileged to be in cabinet yesterday, I said I'm only human, but I'll be guided by my cabinet and colleagues in the party. But at the end of the day, we should own the decision that we make for ourselves. So if it's talking about these issues, the church should be able to talk. Civil society, all those who advocate rights and the liberties of people should be able to talk. Your liberties are important, but the liberties of those men and women who sell on the market are equally important. And for me, I should protect them as much as I should protect your rights. The right to move at night is protected, but if you're going to move into an area where there's a danger that you might affect other people's livelihood by setting alight the market or some filling station, I'll stop you from going there. You have got the right to move, yes, but I'll stop you from going to that area. That is what this law means. So please fear nothing, because the country is in safe hands and will continue being there for you. Go on normally, and everything will be fine for you. But when you transgress, the law will certainly want to ask you questions.
Yes. If there is any other hand, you can join as he is asking, please now.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency.
Good afternoon.
My name is Punda from Joy FM. Your Excellency, there has been a growing perception out there, and as the media have seen in the international media out there, that Zambia is sliding into a dictatorship. You have already made mention to us here that your intentions for us as the Zambian people are very good intentions. My question is, how are you striking a balance between keeping a negative perception out there that Zambia is sliding into a dictatorship and your good intentions for the Zambian people? Thank you very much.
Let me tell you that there is a crusade by some good-for-nothing rich people in the international community who want to take over political power in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, in Zambia, and in Kenya. These are rich people who once held commanding heights of the economy in these countries. They've gone down. And they're busy using advocacy to champion certain interest groups in Zambia, for example, so that they can have a regime change. This we've made very clear, we've known for a long time. So they have hired think tanks, so-called, to speak ill of Zambia, to speak ill of Zimbabwe, to speak ill of South Africa, to speak ill of Kenya, in the international media, including well-respected research institutions. Our answer to them has been, come to Zambia and see for yourself whether this monster talking about Edgar Lungu is indeed what you are claiming to be. I've met representatives of the European Union, diplomats from other Western world countries, to just ask them, that what do you see in Zambia which gives you the impression that I'm a dictator? And allow me at this point to tell you, let you in. I had a meeting with the diplomats here in State House from the EU. I said, tell me, what do you see in me which shows you as I'm a dictator or in Zambia. One of them was good enough to say, no, your bishop wrote a letter and circulated it within and beyond Zambia, saying that things have slidden into lawlessness and you're a dictator. And it's on that basis that people outside Zambia are saying the dictatorship in Zambia. At that point, what I said was, oh my God, Zambians are the ones who are claiming Lungu is a dictator, there's lawlessness in the country. But the best I can tell you is, judge for yourself. You're an accomplished media practitioner. Do we have a dictator in State House? Have things fallen apart in this country? It's the power of the pen. And as they say, falsehood has got fast legs, it runs faster. It goes around the world before the truth is finishing off with tying its shoelaces to begin running. Falsehood has got faster speed, it circulates, and before long, it's finished the race. And the truth is busy trying to tie its shoelaces to join the race. So it's up to the Zambians to judge whether things are falling apart in the manner that they want the world to perceive. It's up to Zambians to judge whether my government is a dictatorial one. But I think let me also appeal to Zambians to just be sincere with themselves and have patriotism and pride in themselves. Zambia is one of the most accomplished democracies in this region, if not the whole Africa. Let's be proud of what we are. Let's say to the world what we are. Otherwise, we risk losing it all. And if anything, if we call this a dictatorship, then there's no room for democracy in Africa. There's no room for democracy in Africa. I said to some people, I said, if Zambia was in Africa, this wouldn't have happened. But Zambia is unique. In the political sense, Zambia is not in Africa because we tolerate so much nonsense in the name of freedoms. Some of the things my colleagues on the other side of the political divide have been doing to me and to PF, if it was in other countries, they wouldn't be living today. They would be long gone. We have stretched the boundaries of democracy in Zambia. Let's be proud of our democracy. That's what I can say. So when they say Zambia is a dictatorial system, Zambia is, you defend what you are saying. Base your arguments on facts, not speculation, not hallucination. So for me, those who read and write should also read extensively and write extensively. There are a number of institutions which are being used to mislead the world. But luckily, the people who know Zambia are there to support Zambia. And I'm very proud of our record.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Again, Mike Situra, 5FM. Firstly, I want to find out what the position of the cabinet is. In August this year, your team will be going to the IMF. Don't you think that this decision that your government has taken is likely to maybe prolong the discussions with the IMF? Then secondly, you've changed the strategy now to fight the acts of lawlessness in the country. Aren't you also changing the team? Because I've got an example, for instance, the Minister of Home Affairs told the nation that he had information, intelligence information of what people are going to do to cause havoc in the country. But nothing has happened in terms of any arrests. Is there a need for your cabinet to be changed? Because maybe you put in people who can do the job very well. Thank you.
First, let me say, in response to that part of the question, that my cabinet ministers and all appointees serve under my discretion. And it's my absolute discretion which will determine whether they keep their jobs or not. And when I decide to revisit the appointments, the nation will be told. You cannot stampede me into firing people because it's not my nature. The reason why it's not my nature is I don't want to undermine myself, because if I fire a minister because I have demanded that he be fired, it means the other one who come in totally be incapacitated. We just tell him that we got that man fired. Who are you not to do what we're asking you to do? We will inform the boss you'll be fired. My strategy is not to fire people on the basis of call for no good reason at all by the public to remove them. Because when I appointed them, I had certain expectations. Take the example of a young man, Bowman Lusambo, the one they are calling a boy on the copper belt. I appointed him. I saw a man in him, but the people are seeing a boy in him. and he will serve at my pleasure. So when I find that it's time to part with Bowman or Sambo, I'll call him, we'll discuss, and I'll part with him. But that's not how I fire people. So if my minister says there are people who are doing wrong things and he hasn't brought them to book, there must be a reason why. Because we don't want to act with impunity. When we hear that that man is doing something wrong, there are processes which should be followed in investigating and making sure that he's the right person. Because sometimes we get information based on personal differences and desire to just settle scores. People come to me and say, that man is against you, when all they want probably is for me to use my wrath and power against that person, so that I give them a clear way in which they want to exercise their own desires without being controlled. So we must be very careful with the calls we make upon the head of state to fire and hire people. It's not an easy decision to hire or fire people. It's a well thought one, and I'll continue thinking through these things. I don't think my Minister of Home Affairs has said anything deserving of him to be fired for now or transferred. So in short, I'm saying give me space to consider who is saving and who is not saving. You're talking about the IMF. I don't think the IMF would like this country to go into flames. I don't think any investor would like to see this country destroyed. The measures that we are putting in place are intended to safeguard the IMF program if it comes to be. But for IMF to say Lungu has gone out of the way, I'll refer them to Article 31 of the Constitution, which gives me that power. Everything we do, we consult, and I want to be remembered for just sticking to the law and doing things within the expectation of the people. So IMF, if they want to go because of this, they can go. And I'm saying this openly. If IMF thinks we have gone beyond the norms of good governance and democracy, they are free to go. We cannot sacrifice the Zambian people at the altar of economic expedience. What are we investing for? We invest money today, tomorrow they bend the money up? No. As long as the people are safe, the IMF, their program will be safe. But if the people are not safe, infrastructure is being bent left, right, and center, we have to spend money to build those markets again. We have to spend money to rehabilitate the electricity pylons, supply lines. This is what the IMF would like. And I'm sure the IMF is not for that kind of thing. The IMF would like to come into a country which is stable, which is growing, where they're sure that their money or programs will yield desired results. But I've made it very clear that if they think I've gone astray, let them go.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Fumbe Chanda from United Voice Radio. You have talked about investments in Zambia, and I want to find out from you, don't you think that your declaration that the country is no longer safe is going to deter...
Is that what I said? I didn't say the country is no longer safe. I said it's sliding into a worrisome state, which might lead me to declare a state of emergency under Article 30. If you read the Constitution, under Article 30, there is a state of emergency. Under Article 31, there is a threat to peace, which is, you may call it a mini state of emergency, but I didn't say the country is sliding into, no, I didn't say that. You may wish to rephrase your question.
Okay, Your Excellency, maybe I meant to say, what are you going to continue to do as government to ensure that you continue to assure investors that the country is still safe for investment? Because with your proclamation, definitely there should be some investors that are thinking twice about investing in the country. Thank you.
Right. If you want to invest in a country, it's like you want to lend money to a person, you do what is called due diligence. So all those people who are affected by my pronouncement are free to come to Zambia and do a due diligence. And if they find that the country is unsafe, they can go. But for me, I'm making it safer for them and their money, and for our people to continue being free. So, my dear lady, this pronouncement is intended to win the confidence of those people who may have been living in Zambia already, who are investors, who are getting worried about the sporadic fires that we have encountered and the breaking down of infrastructure and so on. They were, I'm sure, saying, what's happening? Is there a government in place? Today we hear there's no power, the electricity pylons have been brought down, that shop is on fire and so on. I'm sure Zambian investors, including foreign ones, we are getting worried about the laxity on our part in taking issues seriously. We have done that. So I would like to believe that we are on course, and I think any investor who is well-meaning, if a new one, they're supposed to do due diligence, come through and say, is what I do, what I hear, is it correct? Because there's a lot of propaganda out there. So it's a personal decision. If you're lending money to somebody and you know he won't pay back the money, you don't lend him the money. So those people who want to invest in Zambia should have confidence in our system. And I think that's a normal thing to do. And if they think we are not able to sustain their investment, they will go. But I'm sure, in answer to your question, people should do due diligence on Zambia. As much as they are reading stories about Zambia having gone astray in terms of good governance.
We are going to end with the last set of questions. Be very quick, just short and one, please.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Logic Lukwanda from Hot FM Radio. I wanted to get your comments regarding your proclamation yesterday. There is already some talk that this would be a serious dent on Zambia's democracy. I know you touched a bit on that, but I'd like to get more comments from you on that, and that whatever is happening, including the suspected arson cases, that these are all acts of organization by the ruling party to implicate or punish one opposition leader who is already in custody. Then the other question is, there have been some concerns in some countries where the state of emergency has been declared, and it has been difficult to handle that. So I was wondering, do you think Zambia is ready for this in case we slide to that level? And there's been some cases where the military have taken over. Is Zambia ready for that? Thank you.
We are not ready for a military government to start with, and we won't allow that. Time is long gone for military governments. It's time for people to rule themselves. Any soldier who wants politics should come out of uniform and join us. I think I must make that very clear. Any soldier who wants to take over power should come out of his uniform, surrender his commission, and become a civilian so that we work together. But going further, let me tell you that the power I have used is the democratic constitution. The power I've used to declare a state of emergency or threaten a state of emergency is coming from the constitution. It's not from outside the constitution. So how can any well-meaning person within Zambia and outside say our constitution is going to suffer a dent? The constitution says that when things are hard, this situation happens, the president can use this power. If this power was not in the constitution, then you would say things are bad because the president is acting outside the constitution. So there is no way Zambia can suffer a dent by following the constitution which it gave for itself, which provides for this power. And that's why this power is going to be subjected to test by Parliament. If the power has been used excessively, Parliament will say, we are giving you 1 month, we are giving you 3 months, we are giving you 6 months to leave the situation. Well, Parliament will just say, sorry, there's no basis for this declaration. What more do you want in a democracy? So I don't think that there's room for anyone to act outside the law, to do things which the law does not permit. Because even under this state, we are governed by the laws. And that's why I alluded to the involvement of courts of law. If the power is used arbitrarily or excessively, you are free to go to court. And the court will adjudicate and say, this power, even constitutional, is outside the realm of good governance and reasonableness. That's where we are. I know that people think I'm targeting political players. I'm not targeting political players. I'm just bringing sanity to our country so there is law and order. People's property is not destroyed in the manner that we have seen. And those who are careless and are inciting people by way of peddling falsehood and through the social media and the other print media are checked. How can you be celebrating that there's a fire in Soweto Market? Right now, Soweto is on fire. Next it will be State House. How? A normal person? And me, I should sit there saying, no, the media will interpret that I'm targeting the opposition party leader. No. Let's segment these stories and follow them the way they happen. The reason why that gentleman is being held is totally different. The police know better. They will bring the case to court and see what happens of it. The reason why I'm declaring a threatened state of emergency is clear. we are coming from a situation where people are saying, if this election is not won by me, there will be mayhem, there will be Armageddon. We saw what happened after elections. And it has continued progressively. Armageddon is coming, and maybe I should sit here smiling and saying, no, it's okay. They will say I'm a dictator. It's so, what happened to that dump? I've got a job to do. So if those people think, I'm being excessive, yes, allow me for once to be excessive in the interest of the Zambian people. But that excess is within the law. This is what people need to understand. There is no excess here. Everything is within the law in white and black. So sad that somebody is incarcerated. I hope they can hear his case quickly, either convict him or free him. I don't care.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. I'm Kenneth K. from Movie.
Devices and instruments which could be linked to this kind of thing, causing fires and so on. And I'm sure the courts acquitted them or convicted them. I'm not too sure. But I think I don't want to go into the realm of challenging the courts. I'd rather have the courts run their show. People have been arrested, yes, and taken to courts of law. Some have been given lesser charges and fined and so on. How do you account for somebody being found in the early hours of the morning, carrying Jira night or Jira time, carrying explosive devices and so on, and oil flammables and so on, petrol in the night, and you say no, he's a common background and so on. I don't know. I don't want to go into that because the court system is something sacred for me. I don't want to attack judges or anybody, but I'm talking to you as executive. Yes, we have investigated. We have gotten some people, but probably the evidence might not be sufficient for us to bring charges. But under this regime that we have invoked now, it might give us more room and latitude, including teeth, to get to the root of this very, very carefully. Because we know where they've been holding meetings, some of them, but if you find people holding a meeting, freedom of assembly will be invoked. They will say, we're just discussing, what's your problem? So really, the whole purpose of creating this environment now under the Article 31 is intended to give the police a bit more clout and also allow the police latitude to be more effective. And I think that's what I can say on that scope.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Nakiwe Simpungwe. I just wanted to find out if the decision by the National Assembly on whether to go ahead with the state of emergency or not will be largely based on the conduct of the situation, so to speak, in the nation in the next 7 days, or is it going to be based on the what has been prevailing in the past, the fires that have brought about the invocation of the Article 31? Thank you, sir.
Obviously, ma'am, there is a history to this, and the history goes prior to elections, during elections, and afterwards, and there's been an accumulation of events. So as Parliament debates, I'm sure they will be mindful of where we're coming from and where we are, and what prompted the President to arrive at that decision. But I'm sure members of the executive who are there in the cabinet will stand and meet the challenge of explaining. But does any Zambian need explanation as to what has led to this, honestly? Does any Zambian, well-meaning, want to know what has brought this about? Where we are coming from, like I was saying last night, Katambalala Market, Makalanguzu in Choma, you name it, local court in Mungu, it's just too much. Electricity pylons, Lusaka West, Shantumbu, in Ndola there, you go and set a light systems and thousands of people left home without light and so on. Surely the pattern has shown that this is manipulated and orchestrated by some people who are hell-bent on just bringing chaos into the country. And do you need to be, I don't know how I can describe, every ordinary Zambian knows that we are under siege. There is terrorism building up, building up. But we want to let it escalate to a level beyond which you can control it for you to say it's an emergency. A stitch in time saves 9. That's old English. A stitch in time saves 9. Those of you who went to school during our times, we were doing a lot of this. A stitch in time saves 9. So you don't have to wait at face Chilepuke, Kabila Milo. When you see it, you tie it quickly so that you save 9 stitches. So go and read the English sayings and idioms and find out what a stitch in time saves 9 entails. So what I've done is to stitch it before I require 9 stitches.
Your Excellency, Tilienji Mwanza again. Your Excellency, I wanted to find out, a few big voices have said the invocation of Article 31 has been hastily done, as there were no conclusions in the investigations. However, I would like to find out, with this proclamation, does this mean it's a confirmation that what the acts that happened at City Market are sabotage?
Obviously, it's sabotage because ZESCO have told us that there was no electrical fault or problem, and given the background we're coming from, it conforms to what was predicted, that there will be mayhem in the country. So for us, we see this as a combination of acts. Coming into the hastiness of the decision making, I think we probed that and interrogated it as cabinet, and we were sure that it's time we moved under that law. And I can tell you that politics is not a true science, it's an art. Every politician has got his own way of doing things. For me as president, sitting where I sit with the power that I have, I think it's time to move in this direction. Probably if you were in my side, I would have said there is time to. They can criticize, yes, I'll hear them, but I think going by my judgment, it's the right time to move in this direction.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. I'm Peggy from Live Radio. My question is, you invoking Article 31 yesterday, does it mean that you are agreeing with some other stakeholders that there's tension in the country?
No, there is no tension in the country. There is the acts of terrorism which are intended to intimidate me and other people in power to revisit the decisions of the electorate in the electoral process we had last time in August 2016. The theory is that we should put pressure on the government so that the government begins talking to us, so that we renegotiate the outcome of the elections. That can't be done. That can't be done. When you lose an election, you petition, according to Zambian law. When you petition, the court adjudicates, the matters end there. You go back to the drawing board and wait for the next election. But what is happening in Zambia is a systematic approach by the opposition to stampede us into talks which will culminate into us revisiting the results of the electoral process. We say, no, let's do some power sharing arrangement. I'm afraid we can't do that because winner takes all. The Zambian electoral process provides for winner takes all. 50% plus you have won, you take over the whole country. That's what it says. So I can tell you that there was a deliberate strategy on the part of the opposition to drive us to the negotiating table. First, what they did is they unleashed violence on the people in the southern part of this country who were how can I say, these people are non-ethnic, they're not of the same ethnic grouping traditionally resident in those areas. They started by beating them, torching their houses, and in case you don't know, we embargoed that report for 1 week as our people were being butchered in Amwala, in Teshiteshi, in parts of Kalomo. We embargoed that for 1 month, 1 week. I told them, I said, please, if this goes out, people in other areas will respond. And when they respond, we'll be driven into the Rwanda tragedy, where there will be ethnic cleansing and retribution. I even made calls to some traditional rulers in the north, in northwest, eastern province, and I said, please, prevail on the people there not to retaliate, I prevailed on them to visit southern province and talk to some traditional rulers to tell the chiefs, traditional leaders, not to encourage people to continue searching for non-Tonga speaking people there and beating them up. And that strategy worked. But the idea was to say, no, let's sit down and talk. Because what would have had happen was that Tonga speaking people, for example, would have been victims of revenge and retaliation there in Pula and other areas. I can tell you that I rang chiefs and told them, please, hold on. Some people saying, I said, no, that is all governance. But I can tell you again that strategy did not work. So the strategy now is to create terror and panic so that some people come and say, there's a situation in the country, why don't you talk to them? What talk? What will be the subject if I meet the opposition now? For example, those who are saying, let's meet the opposition and talk, what are we going to talk about? And in what capacity will I meet them? So, let's go a spade. We are in charge because we want 50 plus. That's what the Constitution says. But if the Constitution says no, if one wins 47, you can negotiate. We can negotiate. But there is no room for negotiation now. Power belongs to us, but we use it for the well-being of us, including themselves. Yeah. So the topic is well known to me and us, to put us together, to say, why don't you agree? We have shared the power with MMD because MMD helped us. But who else shall we share power with? 50 plus, you take it. That's what the rules say. Unless you want to change the rules, you can change now and say, no, we should make sure that we bring even those. I'm hearing in South Africa, there's a police conference. I saw on television that there's a proposal that the second loser in the party becomes deputy president. That's what they're saying there. It's their rules. But for us here, the Constitution says 50 plus. You have made it, you have informed government. And that's what we have done. We have been very inclusive in the formation of government. So we can talk with their issues. And I appeal to the church to say, bring the issues, but don't force us to be compelled to form a government of national unity when there is no scope for government of national unity. There is no government of national unity in Zambia. When you win 50 plus, you form government. You include everybody. Even those who got 47 become part of you. That's where we are. Winner takes all. So we have the power.
Yeah. Thank you.
But we look after them.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. You have been exceedingly gracious and kind to our colleagues in the media. Let me now bring the proceedings to an end with an announcement that His Excellency is inviting members of the media, members of the Central Committee, ministers, and other invited guests to lunch in the dining hall. If the room is not sufficient, the foyer has got some sofas. We can pick food and sit there. Those who are not in a hurry to go and do the stories, I know you've got a job to do. The President has got a job to do. You can join him. Thank you very much.
Let's have a quick bite, all of us. I know you're going to Parliament. Some of you are going to do stories and all sorts of things. Bon appetit. Thank you.